Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah. On behalf of Calvas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. So, today we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker once again, who is going to talk about redefining you for renewed success. Today, we will explore powerful strategies and insight to help you transform your personal and professional life, setting the stage for a journey towards renewed success. So get ready to rediscover your potential and embark on the path to achieve greater heights. So indeed a very interesting topic, and I'm sure you will learn a lot from this session because we have an expert with us in today's this session. So stay tuned because amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Kalwas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing us such a wonderful platform. The aim of Kalwas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, recommendations, and suggestions, which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individually as well as to contribute to the world at large. As our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have amazing person as guest. We have requested her to give a session on this very interesting topic once again, and she's kind enough that she has accepted our invitation and she has joined us for this a wonderful topic. So let me introduce her formally for the people who are joining for the first time. She is a global goodwill ambassador in humanitarianism, GIA USA, South Africa ambassador, ladies of all nations, international UK, South Africa country director, originating dreams of young minds, South Africa national director, International Youth Society president, South Africa chapter, Success World One Academy, global ambassador, global educator, the fraternity CEO, founder, the MEA company co-founding director, Helping Hands Social Society, multiple global accolade award winner includes being one of the top 100 women in business in the world as well as one of the top 30 women of leaders and change internationally. Moreover, she has entered the Women Appreciating Women Global Hall of Fame in London, international public speaker and women empowerment specialist, sitting on multiple women forums, GBV platforms, and heads of COVID-19 and various communal initiatives to empower humanity. Last but not the least, she's a wonderful speaker, author, teacher, researcher, and trainer. Above everything, a great human being. So please help me once again, our guest professor, Dr. Mehreen Mia. Welcome to the Calvas platform once again, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Dr. Haider Shah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and all of our listeners out there. So I greet everyone in that universal greeting of peace with blessings to everyone. And thank you again for having me. It's my honor to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and over to you, Flo. Thank you.
So thank you so much for everyone and to join us today. It's an amazing topic, a topic I think that is so important. If you look at the words of the topic, some people will think, oh, it's no big deal, it's nothing important, but we don't realize we're actually doing this on a daily basis sometimes. We have to define ourselves and then something happens and you redefine yourself. And today I'm talking about how do you do this? How do you do it, but do it in a very systematic and positive way so that nothing that happens in your life that is so negative impacts you so negatively that your redefinition of you is negative for you. Because ultimately, everything in life is about you. Whether it's communicating with other people, whether it's trying to even sleep, it is about you. And if you don't understand yourself enough, then nothing about you is going to make any sense to other people either. So it's very important for us. So before I go into how to redefine, I think it's important for us to understand how do you actually define who you are. And people will wonder, so I am me. But what is it about you? How do you define who you are? I can ask Dr. Haider Shah now, who is he? How, what is he? What is his definition? Somebody would ask me. And I know from experience, and my own personal answers would always be, well, I'm a daughter. And then I moved on to I'm a mom. And now I'm a single mom. that kind of thing. But you define yourself by something. And I'm saying that how do you define you by you? What is that? What is the difference? So when I'm talking about how do you define yourself, I'm asking you to basically have an idea of knowing who you are. What exactly do you stand for? What is your actual identity? What rules do you have? What rules do you stand by? What is your belief system, etc.? All of these things are small little things, but they all add up to make you who you are. And this could be about the morals you live by. This could be about what do you define as integrity. What are the values that you inculcate within yourself that you value to see in other people? How important is your word that you give to other people unto you? Let alone carrying out what your promises are. All of these things add up to whether you are defining yourself as good, or whether you're defining yourself as bad, or whether you're defining other people by those standards. Because ultimately, how you define you is automatically how you would kind of define others, because what you see in you, you would see immediately in other people. So this is important because everything about you has to be defined, but defined to the point of where you can understand by self-awareness, what is it about me that needs to even change? We cannot empower ourselves. We cannot change or alter things about us that are negative if we don't even know they're there. So part of understanding yourself and part of defining who you are is just doing that, is understanding and knowing what is it about me that needs alteration. If not, what is it about me that needs enhancement? What is it about me that I need to get rid of? So all of this is about defining you. And why is this absolutely important? Why am I even talking about it? Because by defining who you are, firstly for yourself, then you can better understand who you are. And when you define yourself, then you can define clear goals for yourself. Then you can actually make decisions aligned with the goals that you actually have for you. Leave alone trying to actually make those decisions for people around you. So defining you has got very many important there's benefits to it, but it's beneficial for you first, and this will obviously automatically help you in being true to yourself, in living a very authentic life, and a life that I feel needs to be full of purpose, because every one of us that is here has purpose. And when you define yourself, then you know what your direction is, then you know what I should be doing versus what I shouldn't be doing, and you know, well, this is what my purpose is, and I need to try and work at best for myself to fulfill that purpose to the best that I can be. And knowing this about you means that you have to understand a lot of different things about you. You have to understand your personality traits, right? You need to understand what are your abilities, what can you do, what can't you do. And then, of course, you have to understand, what do I like? What don't I like? Why don't I actually like it? What is it about what I don't like that triggers in me that makes me not like that? Your belief system and your moral code defines who you are. When you understand what your moral code is, when you understand what your belief system is, then you obviously have some respect for you, which means automatically you will want respect for you. So you will want to be with people who respect who you are. And the things that motivate you will automatically come from that core system. And uh, these attributes, all of them come together and they contribute to what I would say is your self-image. And I'm saying self-image. I'm not talking about the image you're creating to other people. I'm talking about your image to you as a self. And once you identify what that is and you define what is your self-image, that is your kind of your unique identity to you as a person. Every one of us is an individual with our own individuality traits. So once you identify your unique identity, then you have the self-image about you. And that is the perception you work on for other people to perceive you as. Because people who can easily describe these particular aspects that I'm talking about themselves, will obviously then have a fairly strong sense of who they are and what they want, what direction they want to follow, and then they know who to actually network with, because they want to actually engage with people who are on the similar level. So this is one of the reasons why I thought of this topic, and it's so important, because everything is about communication today. Everything is about us knowing how to network. If I want to go and get something now from someone, whether it's in a shop to just go and buy something, I have to know how to engage. What are the rules of going into the store? I cannot just go and take it and walk out without paying. These are small things, but it adds up. because it's your belief system. You will not want to go against the grain. You know right from wrong. These are things that are important for us, because when you know these small things and we inculcate these small important things into our children, for example, they then grow up understanding these moral codes of conduct and define themselves based on what's right and wrong. So it's not just platonically something that us adults need to do. It's something we all need to understand. And I just feel if we try and allow for our children at younger ages to define who they are, find out what their likes and dislikes are. And remember, you as a parent might have loggerheads, what you may like, your child may dislike, things like that. But that is all about growing together. It's about bonding together. And that respect you gain for each other in that difference that you have is also part of being part of a unit. So knowing each other, defining each other for each other is very important. When we talk about personal identity, this is also what I'm referring to. Your concept of your individuality as an individual. What is your personal identity? What is that actual unique thing about you that makes you different from others? Because if I emphasize myself based on me being a mom or based on me being a daughter, then I'm constantly living only in that role. But if I define me as me for me first, then I can emphasize who I am based on the role I play in my family, based on the role I have or the code of conduct I follow with my religion or whatever interests I have. But it's all about how am I defining me? Because my sense of who I am deep down, my identity, will be what I will let someone know about me as well. And depending on who they are, I'm not going to let them know the core of me. I'm going to let them know platonically certain things about me. But again, it must be you that knows you, that defines you to be able to know when do I give off the depth of me to somebody when they're getting to know me or when not to. And these are things where we fall short of. Some people feel that when I meet someone, I need to make sure that they know everything about me immediately. It's not about that. Then what are you actually saying about you when you divulge everything about you to the next person who's a complete stranger sometimes? You have to learn first about you. If you've gone through a difficult patch, for example, I've grown through this patch. I've developed myself. Everyone doesn't need to know about the difficult patch, but they do need to know that you are now an empowered somebody. So the person you give off has to be the new redefined you. I've gone through the process. I defined myself back then. I had all of the issues that happened. I redefined me, and now the person you're meeting is me. They don't need to know the whole story about that, but they need to know from your actions and your example that you are now a redefined someone who has now set up some boundaries because you don't want the same mistakes repeated. That's just an example I'm giving you. And why I'm giving you that is because I think many out there would be able to resonate with that because we all do have difficulties. And more so, this is why it is so important for you to be in tune with who you are. You need to always stay true to who you are. And to stay true to being yourself, you have to understand yourself. And to understand and manage yourself, you have to define yourself. So when we know this, then we know how to redefine when things happen or when things don't happen. And every single one of us out there in the world, every single one of us has a definition of the self. And the first step in deciding if we will actually use that kind of, if I could say, default definition of who we are, then it's actually sometimes an ingrained definition. It's something you almost program with because you grew up in a specific field or community or religion or structure, and that defines your personality trait. That system that you grew up in sometimes will define certain things about you. And then once you're out of the system, for whatever reason, you decide there's some things about that I don't like anymore. I actually would prefer this because now there's choices that I have. That's also part of you redefining you. You just don't realize that. But are you doing these different steps of redefining you for the correct reasons? Or is it sometimes merely because I now want to fit in somewhere else, I'm going to alter who I am? That doesn't mean that you're staying true to you. You need to be able to stay true to yourself even when you make altered decisions. And that is why it's so key. It's so key for us to firstly be conscious. Be conscious to define yourself. Be conscious to define what's happening around you. Be conscious to define exactly what it is about my values that ties me into the why. Why will I not transgress this boundary? Why have I put up this barrier? Why will I not allow anyone to do A, B, and C unto me? The decision is always left unto you about you, and that decision is yours. So, to make clear decisions, I have to have clarity of who I am. And so, when you have to say, well, what defines a person? What defines you as the person? A person is a being, if you look dictionarily wise. A person is a being who has certain attributes or capacities where you're able to reason things, you're able to have morality, you're able to have consciousness or even self-consciousness. All of these things are dictionary based. But it's also a form of your culture. It's also a form of your social relations where you have an interaction with where you come from. Sometimes people actually affiliate who they are as a person based on the property they have. I am a businessman. I have properties. I'm in property. So when you ask somebody about them, they actually give you what their profession is as opposed to who they are or where they come from, stuff like that. I'm saying we need to always make sure that we're not unsure of who we are, because feeling unsure of yourself can actually sometimes lead to you shifting your sense of identity only because you want to kind of fit in, or you want acceptance, or you want someone to like you. So you're not your true self at that point. So you might always be trying out new personas or new identity traits or new something just to see how it fits with where you want to fit in, as opposed to you staying true to yourself and let people that are like and supposed to be in your circle be coming towards you. You might find yourself actually changing each time you meet different people. You change your persona to match the person you meet. That's not what it's about. And sometimes, when you have to go for a job interview, for example, how often is it that when we're going to see somebody who is a panel discussion or panel of questionnaires that are coming to you, do you stay true to yourself when you're answering them? Or do you alter yourself because you suddenly pick up about this person or you pick up about that person? Yet, if I just stay true to who I am, I know my potential. This is my CV that's in front of you. This is my stuff that I know how to do. I don't need to alter me. I have the educational capacity to do this job. These have got to accept me for me, defined as me in front of them, because the CV speaks for itself, but I'm here to speak for myself. So it's really important in every aspect of our life to understand this fully. Because only when you understand the definition of you will you understand the redefinition process. And it is a process. It's not something that just happens. So I define me today because I'm born into this family. I define me today because this is what I studied. The redefinition is a process because most often the redefinition comes with emotional something. And if you aren't intelligent about the emotions you're experiencing, what thoughts you're having, and what behavior comes with that emotion, then you're not conscious about how to actually alter that behavior to be positive for you. So there's always this direct link between everything that makes you whole. And that's why I'm such a firm believer, and Dr. Haider Shah will tell you this, I'm such a firm believer of holistic beings, holistic health, holistic well-being, holistic education, because everything is about you as a holistic someone. If I don't understand me, I'm never going to be able to empower myself. If I'm not intelligent about my own emotions, then how am I going to be intelligent about interacting with people and their emotions? How am I going to be perceived or let other people perceive me? I'm not going to be able to do it effectively. So, how am I to know how to define myself? Do I even know how to define me? And this is why today for me is so important, because if you find yourself thinking, I don't know who I am, then it very likely means that you kind of have poor sense of your self-identity, which is probably because a number of factors are there. Many factors can influence why you will not know who you are. And it could just be that you became someone who was so in tune with people pleasing all the time, perhaps all your life. Everything was about, I needed to make sure so and so was always pleased with me. I always had to make sure everything got done on time. So everything was always based on other people's feedback for you to validate you. It was never about you validating yourself. And when that happens, then who are you? Because you've always lived now according to standards that were set from outside of you. You've always lived to get people happier. People's needs had to get met, and yours kind of fell on the on the wayside. And we find that not with just only women nowadays, many people. And that's because the world is the way it is. Everybody's so busy with everything else, they forget that they exist as human beings, as an individual. They're still you. There's still you who has to answer for you, about you, and you have to change for you. And if you don't get this, if you don't define the who you are, then you're going to have this poor sense of self-identity. You're going to always want to identify rather with others than with yourself. And that's almost like I'm giving away my power. Every one of us is born with gifts of being who we are. And when I give away that gift, every time I try and make somebody else think better, or I change who I am because I want that person to feel better, then what's happening to the gift of me? I'm losing off that gift. So my reactions to these people are also not true. Then who am I? So this is why identity is something that actually is shaped by your experience. Every time you have any specific experience, your identity, something about you is altered because of that experience. Sometimes positively, doesn't always have to be negative. Experiences can alter you in different ways. How you perceive that experience, how you react about it to other people, that is your power. Because remember, I cannot control everything else. I can't control people. I can only control me. That's my power. So that resilience and that power that I have inside me is what I need to be my drive for life. So I can't let experiences of other people define me. My own experiences define me. And how does that define me? How does it actually alter me or redefine me? So sometimes you may be in a specific mode. You leave home. I'm giving you a very hypothetical example now. So you leave home in the morning, you're ready for your day of work, you're casual, you're happy, you got a good day going, you're feeling good. And guess what? So you're in traffic, you got a 1 hour to go before your next meeting in your office. And then the traffic's just crazy. And then you have people that just forgot how to drive that morning. And everything goes crazy, and suddenly there's a storm. And then the robots don't work. And everything starts to go wrong in the traffic. What happens to that person who left home happy and full of smiles and casual and calm? And the time's rushing because the time's getting nearer to that meeting, and you can't miss the meeting because you're going to close the deal, so to speak. But what happens to you in that sense? That experience in the traffic has altered so much about you. It's altered your mindset. It's altered your demeanor. It's altered how you're going to think. It's altered everything about you. So how are you reacting to that? Suddenly you're faffing in the traffic. When you get to the office, there's no more happy person. I'm not greeting anybody. I got to rush to this meeting. I'm in this meeting and I forget half the things I'm supposed to say anyway, because the emotions take over and my behavior becomes something I'm not controlling anymore. The emotion is controlling that instead of me controlling the emotion. So when that happens, who are you? Were you the person who left home happy and okay for the day? Or are you the person who actually went through the whole experience in traffic and now you're sitting in that space with an unknown about what to do next? Who are you in these scenarios? So the experiences that we have can really alter you in many ways. But that alteration, that redefinition based on the experience, that is in your control purely in your control. In the same scenario of that traffic, for example, all you had to do was phone your office and say, I'm in traffic, I can't do anything about it. Whoever is there to meet me, let them know I'm running late. I will be there shortly. There's nothing you can do about the traffic, but you need to still get to this meeting. So tender your apology in advance. You already got 15 minutes to get there, but you're not going to make it on time. But these are proactive things that you can do to enhance that. Okay, this is an awful experience I'm going through, but let me take control of the experience instead of it controlling me so negatively. And then I redefine myself in that process to know life plans. I can plan my diary for tomorrow. Dr. Haider Shah probably does the same thing. We plan it to the T. I'm going to do 5 things tomorrow morning. This is what it's going to be. And come tomorrow, half the things in my diary don't get done. They get carried over because everything else becomes priority. But how are we going to react to that? You can't be totally stressed out by it. You got to be able to know, how do I prioritize? How do I alter? How do I change? How do I redefine? Because whatever's in that diary for tomorrow still has to get done, but the priorities took over. So I need to know how to manage myself, not let that manage me. And that's why today's topic is also so important for me, because in everyday life, these are small things that are happening with us that really alter who we are. And sometimes even our children go through this. You know, during childhood and adolescence, you have so many different experiences. And in each of those experiences, in those specific areas of your life, your developmental stages, every experience is actually contributing to your personality. Every experience is contributing to a characteristic that you're going to develop. Because who you were at home as a child, you were molded, you were protected. And now suddenly when you're in the school environment or university environment, you're exposed to different things. And that can alter you. That seeing and witnessing and even experiencing different things alters certain things about you. And we know kids who are raised in a very supportive environment, where there's a lot of care, there's a lot of support, there's encouragement, they have a kind of a healthy sense of who they are, a healthy sense of self. They can go home and they can relay certain things without fear of almost damnation or almost being condemned for certain things. They can speak of what they've experienced openly, as opposed to some children who have to keep their experiences to themselves because they're so scared of the reaction of people at home. So that also alters the child. That alters the child to understand that I need to be a different way outside versus a different person inside. So who is this child then? If I have to ask this child, so who are you? They're going to not know which one of the two they really are. So it's really important for us because we have to learn how to adjust to experiences, how to adjust to whatever life throws at us. How do we cope when I don't know who I am? If I don't know who I am, and if I'm struggling with all of these issues that are related to my identity, and if I'm struggling and I feel that I don't really know who is Mehreen, I don't know anything about me suddenly, then there are things that you can do to actually cope with that. It doesn't have to take over. It's you who takes over and you who starts to make that mindset shift of I'm not fixed in that rut anymore, of being so enveloped in the difficulties that I don't know who I am anymore. I'm now taking the steps forward where I want to change that. I want a growth mindset now. I want to identify things about me, even if it's negative, honesty about yourself, and then you start to work with what are the things you find about you that need to be worked on. That redefining of yourself is a process because it's about actually taking aback everything about you, taking apart everything, analyzing things about you, knowing and growing awareness about certain things about you. I'm not saying other people, I'm saying it's about you. And that is the process that can strengthen your sense of self, the strengthen of your sense of who you may be now in the redefined process stage versus who you were. So you need to learn these different traits about how do I foster and strengthen my individuality to suit myself best, leave alone to suit other people. Because like I said, we so often tend to be engrossed in the world, in what we have to do, in making our targets met, making sure we wherever we need to be all the time. We forget us in the process. And we forget what's important to us in the process. And that becomes a goal of materialistic goals, and that's not what defines you, because everything materialistic can disappear, but you being true to who you are can never go away from you. Knowledge-based, education-based, things that actually are at the forefront of developing you as a person can never be taken away from you. So don't define yourself by things that are almost platonic. Define you by really your worth, your true sense of who are you. Define you. So if I have to talk about what happens when I don't know who I am. So what do I do? What do I do if I'm somebody who suddenly is at a point where I don't know who I am? I don't know these things. I don't have these answers. Um, I've kind of lived my entire life being somebody I don't even understand. I was always there and I did things for everybody and I always saw them happy. And now suddenly I'm left alone and I don't know what to do. Most often, we find lots of widows, for example, that go through that. They become so engrossed in their lives of serving their spouses, their families, etc. Children then go off, they get married or whatever, and then you have this widow with her, they have initially a couple that stays together, and then one of them passes on, and the other that's left is like a lost person because how do I define me now? I define myself based on my spouse. I define myself based on the interactions of the daily routine with my spouse, and now suddenly I'm left alone. I don't know how to even function anymore. Again, hypothetically, I'm just saying this is what some people go through. But many a time, people that go through all of the different emotional turmoils of life, children, youngsters, anyone goes through so much, and then suddenly they hit a block of, okay, but that I did that, but now I don't know. So now what do I do? How do I define me when I get to that point? And it comes down to a point of, I'll give you an analogy, Dr. Shah. If I have to say to you right now, I'll give you a piece of paper and I'm going to tell you, break that piece of paper up into a whole lot of strips of paper. So now you have multiple strips of paper, little strips of paper in front of you. And then I say to you, write down on each of these little slips that you have an emotion that you're experiencing based on what you're going through. And suddenly you write down each of these. So there's depression, there's anxiety, there's I'm sad, there's I'm frustrated, there's I'm angry, whatever you write down. And then I tell you, take each strip of that paper and fold it up. You're going to fold it up and you're going to put it into a bag. And all those folded pieces of paper are in this bag. And I take this bag and I shake it and I say to you, Dr. Shah, now pick up where you wrote sad. You're not going to know. You use the same pen, the same ink on everything. You're not going to know which of those pieces are there. How will you identify it? By toppling the bag open again and then undoing each of your strips of paper to find that. That is the process of finding and getting to know yourself better. You need to unpack that overwhelmed sense of everything has now got to me. I don't know which way to turn. I don't know what to do next. So now it's your time to undo the bag, empty the bag out, and unravel the strips of paper that are making you feel that way. And then work through each one of the strips of paper one by one. So you need to be able to get to know yourself better. That's your number one. If you don't know who you are and you feel like, what do I do now? I don't understand. This lady is talking about defining myself. I don't understand how to even do that because I'm in a bad fix. But first step you have to do is get to know yourself better, which includes what are my interests, what are my likes, what are my dislikes. And unraveling those little pieces of paper is going to help you do that. Because if I am suddenly sad, what made you sad? Analysis of each of those things will help attribute certain things to certain qualities to certain things. And when that happens, you're going to be able to understand yourself versus that emotion instead of that emotion versus you. So the number one step is get to know yourself better. And be honest in the getting to know yourself process, because you have to figure out what is important to you. What are your beliefs, your values, your goals? How have they been actually hidden? If you were somebody who lived a different life and now suddenly want to find out who you are, what did you do with your visions? Did you even have a belief system? Or did you follow someone else's simply because you wanted to conform and be accepted? All of these are things that you have to know and identify for you. Once you are able to know these things, you're able to take back control of you. And when you're doing this as a process, you're taking the time out to learn more about who you are. You're learning about everything about you, but without the outside pressure, without that outside influence of I'm scared of what they're going to judge me about, what judge about me. If I say this, then what would they think? If I do this, what would they say? We're not doing that. This is your process, your internal process. And it's an actual working through process about you. So there's no judgment, there's no pressure. There's no external influences that are going to influence your answers because you know you best. Nobody else knows you to answer these things. And once you identify these things, then ask yourself, if I have to try something new now, if you're trying new things, you might not enjoy everything you try new because you're so used to being in that comfort zone you were in. But now when you want to try new things, give it the chance and try them out as if they challenges. They challenges to actually help you with a learning experience. They're not just about I need to I need to rebel through this experience. I need to be able to make sure people acknowledge me because now I'm trying something new. No, we need to stop with I need to do it for other people and start with I'm doing this for myself. And these are for me the key first few steps about how to get to know you if you don't know who you are. Because having this very well balanced sense or a very self developed ideal of who you are is really beneficial, Dr. Shah, especially when we have to face the world, when you have to face people, when you have to face experiences, when you have to make choices. When, especially when you're making choices not just for yourself, but pertaining to what's around you, it's so important for you to have this very well developed sense of you as a self, because then you understand that your decisions are made clearly. They're not influenced decisions. They're not decisions that are about other people that are pressurizing you to make or take these decisions. These are your own because you understand you and you don't allow for those infiltrations to make your decisions. So it's so important because something important or something as small as what my favorite food may be, or something as big as what is a personal value. These are things that are your decisions. It's what you like, it's what you don't like. Small things matter, but it's about your own self versus what comes from others that allows you to actually live truly, authentically. And if you understand this is my true being, this is who I am, other people, I don't know how they perceive me actually, but this is who I am, then you are true within yourself. And when you are true within yourself, then what others allow or don't allow doesn't really phase you. It might impact you, but it doesn't phase you or alter you. And the experiences you encounter with that might just help them perceive you better if you do it with a clear conscience of, I'm true to who I am when I even engage with you. So this ideal of I have the knowledge about myself enough to become true to who I am, then this is how you will accept your being, your person. And when you accept who you are, then you know how to give off a perception of you that will be acceptable to other people. And that is the art of how to gain respect. Because when I respect me, I don't demand respect. I actually command it by being who I am. So because I am authentically me, I know I have lots of self-respect. I respect me. Therefore, I will not allow someone to disrespect me. I can agree to disagree with somebody in a boardroom all day long. It doesn't mean I disrespect the person. But there's a way to be able to engage that so that the circumstance and experience doesn't start to define you. You redefine you through the experiences you are having, that where you may find there's differences. And you never know. Sometimes because you agree to disagree and you engage in a very healthy argument, you might change your viewpoint on something. That alters a little bit about you too. But it's a healthy form of doing that because you're doing it in a good way with a clear mind. You know, you're not influenced. You're actually speaking fluently, you're speaking clearly, and you're starting to understand the other person's point of view. That's only because you have this good sense of defining who you are in that moment. So your sense of self-knowledge makes it very easy for you to accept your entire self, your traits that you're very proud of, and also those that you would like to improve. Everything about you is acceptable to you. Even the stuff about you you don't like needs to be accepted to you because it's you. So I might not like certain things about me, but I have to be realistic that they are there. None of us are perfect. And if there's something about me I don't like, it's in my box that I need to change it. Why don't I like it? Because it triggers in me some things that I don't like. It's not part of who I am. So if I want to change that, I have to be honest about that and then start to take those steps to become better. So if you do feel dissatisfied with some aspects of yourself, then You have to address those areas with a strong sense, though, that I'm now developing myself with naturally to be better able when I'm redefining me in my process of redefinition. Because um, are you somebody who, I always have to do things to make people happy? Like I said before, are you that people pleaser? Like I always have to accommodate everybody, but nobody accommodates me. I'm always agreeing to what other people want, and I don't even live for myself. So defining yourself mostly by these relationships or whatever you're doing, it almost takes away your ability to please yourself. Because then who are you pleasing? How do you even please yourself? What about you are you going to look at? How are you going to learn how to change things? If I have to ask who you are, define yourself for me, what are your strengths? Would you be able to answer that if you don't know who you are? So I'm going in for this job interview. I have this fantastic CV laid out. What are your strengths? I don't really know what you mean. Is that what you're going to say? So you need to learn that the sense of yourself depends on not only you recognizing strengths, but also for you to understand that you have capabilities to use your strengths to achieve more goals. It's not just a strength that has to be within you, it defines you and it sits there. It works for you. And it has to work for you because you know how to handle that strength and how to control it to work for you in a positive way. And it's all about you. And that sense of you has to be what what brings you the happiness you need, that peace within yourself. And we know the world right now needs peace. But I always say the peace starts with each one of us. If I know peace and I feel peace and I'm all about peace, then I want to give off peace. I wouldn't want to be in a space that's not peaceful. And if it is not peaceful, then what can I do to make it peaceful? So everyone has a few things and people in life that, maybe there's some things I don't want to change. There's people that you might want to change. You can't change people. You can change you. And sometimes people may hold on to other people because I don't want to lose this person or I don't want to lose this. And so I'll just become what they want me to be. I'll define myself by what they would like because I don't want to lose them. But then who are you? Are you not living the lie? Because they probably true to who they are by asking you to be certain things. So what would happen if you have to say, but that's not really me, I'm different? They may just accept your difference. You don't know that. But because you're so scared of being who you are, you're giving off this lie of your sense of being. That's not your authentic being. And that's why it's so important for us to understand, what are my values? Am I living my life according to these values? Because being aware of your personal value, and I'm not talking about a monetary value, I'm talking about your value system, your belief system. You being aware of what are your values, that goes a long way towards outlining what is your sense of yourself. What is the sense of you being the core of you? Because the values you have describe the traits that you will prioritize in life and in yourself of others. You'd have empathy, you'd have honesty, you would have a sense of trustworthiness, you'd have a sense of kindness. All of these things are values that you have. And when you have them and it's part of your character and it's part of who you are, then that becomes you. And when you're aware of that, then that becomes who you are as a humanitarian as well. The world needs more of us to be that way. And every one of us has that. When you stop being so clouded by everything else around you and you start to really redefine who you are based on your actual value system, then that humanitarian part of you is going to come through with resilience, mind you. So you know where to draw your lines. Where do I know? What do I not do? What do I do? And then the choices you make, those actually reflect your interests. And that is the clear interest. It's not the interest that's a lie interest that I want to make somebody else happy by what I'm saying or doing. So we all have this list of characteristics. For successful people, I don't like to use the barrier term of successful versus not successful. But when you look at a successful someone, many people have this assumption that they don't have these issues. And I'll take myself as an example right now. People will be listening to me here, or they listen to lots of the other webinars I do, or whatever, or they listen to the introduction, which I need to change, Dr. Shah. But these are, they'll listen to these things and they think, because this is such a either educated or successful or empowered women, she has no issues. She's got it all covered. They're listening to me now and they think she's probably so in tune with herself. But that's not the case. All of us are human beings at the end of the day. And we all eat humble pie. I know I do. And so I will have the issues. And I know life is never going to be so perfect where I'm never going to have a negative happen to me. I have to just learn how to adapt myself. And I take control of situations instead of those situations controlling me. And I learned these steps purely because I experienced what I'm talking about. I experienced the difficulties of life. I experienced the stigma of society. I've experienced all of these things that altered me and made me redefine me in the process, which is why I'm talking to you today about this, because every one of us goes through that. And you have to have that innate trait within you to understand, I have to get through this, but I need to go, even though it's difficult, even though it's ugly, I don't want to face these realities, but you must, because that redefined you becomes successful. And it's not about monetary successful. I'm talking about you being successful for you. So I'm going to pause there, and I'm hoping that, inshallah, something I've said resonated with someone out there and helps you to define who you are and to be the best that you can be, truly authentic for yourself, inshallah.
Wow, wonderful. Dr. Mehreen, I really enjoyed the way you describe each and everything, and I love the idea you started from the how do you define and how do you see yourself. That was a wonderful part. I was going through so many books which I have gone through and read in my own life, and how did they projected you talk the same way. I like the way that how you are going to have a self image and how you are going to make it and build it. That's the, I think, a very nice suggestion for our viewers from around the globe, that how do you see yourself. And I love the way you use different phrases, like for example you said we need the validation from the outside, from the people, but we really not care about the validation from our inner side, that how do we validate ourselves, what things we really like, and to pursue our own values, and what are our real character. Because the way you just described it, that first you need to define and then you can go through the process of redefining it. And what a nice analogies and fine examples we have given. I like the way you just described that how experiences shape us and how emotions control us rather than we control the emotion. Then you give the example of traffic jam, that when you stuck and then you come to the office, and how do you feel for the rest of the life. And this is what happens with the ordinary men, but the dilemma is that they are not recognizing what is happening with them, because they are lacking the awareness regarding these things, because these things are very interesting. And I would say it is science. It's not the something random, it's systematic one, and how it affects your subconscious. And I love the way you just give the example of the children, that they learn and they develop their character, and then when they go to the school, so they see different world, they are exposed to the different world, and then they come back and then they thinking that what kind of person I am and what is my true character. I think these are the things which are everyone is going through, but most probably they are lacking the guidance regarding that how can they control it. So very nicely you put it in a different words with the wonderful examples and analogies, that everyone can have a better understanding of it. And I like the way you just described the CV pattern, that what are the strengths. I think our students, particularly who are at the undergrads, they are preparing the CVs for upcoming employment and seeking the employment. Very nicely, you have told them that how can you use them to further enhance your personality, and even that will be helping you to get your goals and dreams come true. So I usually say to the different speakers that you people are the expert, and such have a command on the topic, that you make it very easy for our audience from around the globe. So you also did the same thing, and I knew from the beginning that since in the last session you did very well and the people were very happy with your session, so this time you did it again. But now we have certain things which need your clarification. So should we start with the first question, please?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, because some of the question you have already addressed. So now We are filtering the question, and now the question 5 is actually very nice, and they want to ask that how do you handle the setbacks and obstacles when pursuing personal or professional growth and renewal? Yes, please.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for the question. Like I said before, a lot of what I'm teaching, or what I'm saying, is based on my own experiences. And sometimes we have to be realistic about what we feel. So I'm always somebody who teaches that whatever your emotion is, remember the behavior or the experience or the circumstance that you have is what is going to contribute to a thought. And that experience and thought is what contributes then to your feeling or your emotion. That then is contributing to your behavior or your reaction. So it takes some practice, of course, but once you understand yourself enough and you know, listen, this is a behavior, or this is something that has just happened and it's given me this as an emotion, you know what is the way forward, what is your actual reaction supposed to be that will not be harmful, firstly, to you and to other people around you. But to do that takes a lot of practice to be able to understand the whole process. This is why I say, please learn how to develop these traits within you. But to answer the question about what do I do, the first thing I do is I embrace whatever the emotion is, or whatever, even if it is a negative emotion, I embrace the emotion because it is there. Even the negative emotion has a purpose for me. And I need to embrace that emotion for whatever it is, whether it's a grief, whether it's a loss, whether it's a positive, whether it's a negative, I embrace it. And once I embrace it, I'm not looking at it from a pressurized point of view. Because as long as it's not an embraced emotion, you have a tensed moment about it. When I embrace the emotion, I somehow relax about my reaction. So that's the first thing. And then, of course, whatever it is, I deal with it versus whatever triggered that emotion in me. And then what do I do after that will be based on, of course, what needs to be done. So, again, thank you again for the question, and I hope I've just answered it.
Yeah, very nice, wonderful. And I think this is how you are going to tackle with the emotion, because now you are controlling the emotion rather than emotions are controlling you. Very nice,
Yeah.
wonderful. And Dr. Mehri, you know, today we are living in the world of data analytics and the AI and the virtual reality. So one of the student has asked a very nice question regarding the data analytics, that how can data analytics and metrics be used to assess your current state and track progress when redefining yourself for success? I think they are talking about the technological, that how can we take advantage of technology for that respect. Yes, please.
Well, again, I say thank you for the question, but I must tell, I think anybody who knows me knows this. There's a lot of certificates and degrees and stuff attached to me. The one I have not touched on yet is technology. So I'm still getting in tune with that. Like I would just about find how to do something technologically wise, and suddenly there's a whole new system in place. So I got to go and learn it again and unlearn what I've learned. So that's just me. But when it comes to technology and how AI or whatever programs are there that can help in terms of understanding your redefinition of you. The actual program won't do that. The awareness program may. So it depends on the kind of questions. So if you have to look at developing a program that would do this, I think you'd have to structure questions in such a way that if you have to answer these questions based on specific points, for example, if you have to have a program that outlays 10 questions with 5 multiple choice for each, your program has to be based on such that it must identify through this whether this person is actually somebody who is intelligent about their emotions or not. So it's low intelligence versus high intelligence first, and then if we probably then move on to whether you have a sense of actual definition of yourself or not. But it has to be structured in such a way that it is personality based, characteristic based, persona based. It's not about just having facts and figures. It's not like putting in some facts and figures and getting a BMI for somebody to tell them what diet they need to go on. This is about somebody's mental state. So if you do have to go that route, it has to be something really persona based that will be able to help. And if there is something that ever comes up like that, I would really love the training on that. But I hope that answers the question.
Wow, very nice. Thank you very much. And I think You have touched our second question, which is related to the mind state and mindset. And I believe that this question will addressed in the upcoming question as well. Let me just show it. The question is, in your opinion, what is the most important mindset or attitude to adopt when redefining yourself for success? So you can continue your previous answer, and you can answer this one as well. Yes, please.
Sure. So thank you again for this question. What is very important to note is before you even understand mindset, you have to know that there's two different forms, right? There's the fixed mindset and there's the growth mindset. You have to understand if you are the person doing this analysis of someone or you're doing the analysis of yourself. Where do you fit in? Are you somebody with this fixed mindset who is just one way or no way? Or you are a growth mindset who's willing to adjust and wants to learn new things and wants to progress and grow? So, depending on who you are, is how you will adjust yourself to your redefining yourself. And automatically, redefinition of who you are as a person needs you to alter fixed into growth. You cannot be so fixed in a persona of yours or characteristic trait of yours and expect to move away and redefine who you are. Because if you are so fixed in who you are, then you're going to expect that of other people too. Then there's not going to be much room for you to be able to grow with people. You might feel that I will grow within myself. If I empower myself, I'll be better for myself, etc. You keep your fixed mentality, fixed mindset for you. But then how are you going to grow with those around you? How are you going to understand and perceive and be empathetic towards people around you? These are different things that require you to leave the fixed mindset and move to the growth. Moving into a growth mindset doesn't mean you changing everything about you. It just means I'm becoming a little bit more flexible. I'm becoming a little bit more of somebody who I can agree to disagree about things. And I'm willing to be able to learn and develop myself further than that. So the growth mindset would be the ideal for you to redefine yourself with, inshallah.
Wow, mashallah. Wonderful answer to this question. And you define again the growth mindset, that what is it, and you clarified it again. So thank you very much for nice answer. I'm looking at the time that we have almost reached to the time, but one last question, since people are taking interest in your own life as well, that how you tackle the different challenges and how did you face it, and then what did you do to overcome those? So one last question very quickly, that's very interesting, related to your challenges you faced. So the question is, what are some of the challenges you faced when trying to redefine yourself or your goals for success? Anything you would like to share, it's up to you, please.
Yes, sure. I'll give you an example just very quickly. So I started off by studying law. I was the somebody who wanted to study law all the time. But that's because as an only child, I always wanted to be this A grade somebody in school. So I always wanted to make sure my mom and dad were proud of me when that report card came home. And I wanted the same. And I always wanted them to see my name on a placard, outside my door in my lawyer's office, that kind of. So I had this vision of being this lawyer. And when I started to actually study it, it was not me. It was not me. So even though they knew I'm studying to be a lawyer, I want to be this lawyer. They could see my dad, my mom, they could see that this is not her personality though. What's happening with her? And then I eventually verbalized that this is just not for me. What I thought it was and what it is like two different things. That was the first time I had to verbalize that I'm not going to be pleasing somebody anymore because my choice was about what I wanted for you all, but now it's for me. And I was scared of that. I was scared that I was going to get the retaliation, the you wasted so much of time, or the judgment call from other people, not my parents, other people, other family, communities, because this is our community, right? We're a small community. So everybody knows about everybody else's child, and this is what she's studying, so she's going to be so and so. And then how do you now go and tell your mom and dad, okay, I'm not going to do that. Now they're going to have to tell people you're not going to do that. And that was the first time I took the step and the decision to actually be open with my parents, be vocal and say, I'm at this point. I mean, I have all the legal knowledge here. I mean, right now I can give somebody a legal answer, but it's not for me to practice law. It's just not in my personality. And it was respected. And it was not about, well, now how are we going to face people? My parents never said that. My parents were then, what would you like to do? This is me. What you're seeing now is me. And I just enhanced myself continuously. Some of life's journeys and life's difficulties made me realize psychology was my field, and it